Okay, today's Daf Yomi is Nedarim Daf Samachay, Nedarim 65. On today's Daf Yomi, Gemara, we're going to start on the top of 65a with a brisa. The Gemara says, Tanya Hamudar Nami Chavero, if somebody takes a vow that he can't get any benefit from his friend, or else that his friend can't get benefit from him, we only annul this vow. We've been discussing in this chapter, Parakab Eliezer, the discussion of annulment of vows. We're only allowed to annul this vow in the person, in front of the person who is not allowed to benefit from him, or from whom he can't benefit from. And what's the reason why it needs to be in front of him? So the Ran offers two explanations coming from the Yerushalmi. One explanation is because of a chashad, that let's say you're not allowed to benefit from, Reuven can't benefit from Shimon, and then that's the vow, and then Reuven annuls the vow, but Shimon doesn't know it, and then Shimon sees Reuven's benefiting from him. So he's going to suspect him of violating a sin. And we know you need to be nikiyim, you need to be innocent, not only in the eyes of God, but also in the eyes of man. And so therefore that's problematic. The second explanation that the Ran brings down, and then Rabbi Yochanan, is the idea of busha, that we want this person we want to prevent these types of vows in the first place, and so therefore, if a person knows he's going to have to make this annulment in front of in front of the person who did it in the first place, he's going to be embarrassed to make the vow in the first place, and so therefore, that's going to prevent him from making the vow, and also he'll be less likely to be dishonest when we're looking for a Pesach for the annulment of the vow. So these are the issues of embarrassment. So we're only going to release him in his presence. So the Gemara asks, what's our source for this idea? What's the source for this idea? So Amar Nachman Dachsiv, Vayomer Hashem Moshe b'Midyan. God says to Moses and Midian, Leich Shuv Mitzrayim, go back and return to Egypt, Ki Mesu Kol Anashim, because all the people who have been looking for you have died. We've said in the previous stuff, doesn't mean they actually died, it means Dasan Aviram became poor and Paro got leprosy. And those are considered like they were dead. But in this context, the Gemara says we learn a different idea from this verse. We'll go back to Midian. God said to Moshe and Midian. So Amar Rabba Midian Nadar Talacha Vater Nadarcha Midian. Since you made the vow in Midian, go and release yourself from this vow in Midian. And how do we know that Moshe made the vow in Midian? Because it says in the verse, Tachsiv Vayoel Moshe. Moshe took an Vayoel Moshe, and the word Vayoel, we're going to say Ein Allah, that the word Vayoel comes from the word Allah, and the word Allah means Ela Shavua. The word Allah means an oath. And how do we know that the word Allah means an oath? So Moshe had taken an oath, basically, to Israel to remain in Midian until such time that he was going to remain in Midian. So now that Hashem is telling Moshe to return to Egypt, Moshe has to take an oath to annul this vow. But how do we know that the word Vayoel means an oath? Because it states in Ezekiel that there was a story between Tzidkiyahu and Nebuchadnezzar, and that Nebuchadnezzar came and made a covenant with Tzidkiyahu. He made Tzidkiyahu a promise by an oath, and we'll see what that oath was about. As it says in the pasuk, Vayaveo so be'Allah, that he made an oath with Tzidkiyahu, as it states, V'gam melch Nebuchadnezzar marad asher ishpio be'Elokim. So this is based upon the idea that what happened was that it says V'gam melch Nebuchadnezzar marad, that Tzidkiyahu rebelled against the king of Nebuchadnezzar asher ishpio be'Elokim, that Nebuchadnezzar are making Tzidkiyahu take an oath. And so that was what Ezekiel was referring to in his prophecy, saying that Tzidkiyahu rebelled against Nebuchadnezzar, he even though he had taken an oath to him. So my Mardusa, what was the nature of this rebellion? Ashkachet Tzidkiyahu and Nebuchadnezzar. So that what happened was that Tzidkiyahu one time saw that Nebuchadnezzar that he was eating a wild rabbit. He was eating a rabbit while it was alive. Now, even though Tzidkiyahu other sources say, and even though Nebuchadnezzar from other sources show that he was actually eating human beings, He was a cannibal. Nevertheless, this you couldn't plausibly argue that this was intended for self-defense. So he was eating this rabbit while it was basically a raw rabbit, and so therefore this raw rabbit was something that people were going to make fun of him. Amarle. So Nebuchadnezzar was embarrassed. So he said to Tzidkiyahu, "Ishtabali the Megalis Eli v'lo tepuk milsa." He said, "You swear to me that you're not going to tell anybody about it." Ishtaba. So Tzidkiyahu took this oath. Masov having to start Tzidkiyahu b'gufei. Tzidkiyahu was getting physically sick because he went to reveal the secret. So Itchil Ashwasa, he went to the Sanhedrin to ask them to annul his oath to Nebuchadnezzar. And then he told them what happened. So Shama Nebuchadnezzar, they come to Vazalai. Nebuchadnezzar heard that they were indeed making fun of him. So Shalach La'isi Sanhedrin Vitzikiyo. So Nebuchadnezzar went and he brought the Sanhedrin in Tzidkiyo and Amarlo, and he said to them, Chazisun Maika Avid Tzidkiyo. He said, go look and see what Tzidkiyo has done. He made a promise he wasn't going to tell anybody, and now he's telling everybody. He said, didn't I, so he says, didn't I make you swear, Tzidkiyahu, that you weren't going to tell anybody about this secret? So Tzidkiyahu said to Nebuchadnezzar, listen, I did take an oath to you, but we have a mechanism called Ataras Nedarim. I went to the Sanhedrin and I released myself from this oath. This fits in within the context of Cheshad and ambush that he should have done it in presence of Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar was suspecting Tzidkiyahu of violating his oath. So he says, I went and I have my vow annulled. I'm like, so Nebuchadnezzar says to the Sanhedrin, are you really allowed to annul an oath? Amalei in. They said, yeah, he's legit. He's allowed to do that. I'm a little bit fun of or foolish a little bit fun of it. Nebuchadnezzar knows the halacha. He had somehow heard the Daf Yom Mishir, he had heard the Brisa, and he said, are you even allowed to do it when the person is not in his presence? He took a vow to me that he wasn't going to reveal anything, but he should have had to annul it in my presence. Amalei b'fanav. He said, yeah, only in his presence. You're right, Nebuchadnezzar. So Nebuchadnezzar said to them, Asun, my avdisun. What did you do? My time along recently with Tzidkiyahu. Why don't you tell Tzidkiyahu you can't annul this vow unless he's there? Immediately, they sat on the ground in silence, the elders of the daughters of Zion. Meaning to say, the Sanhedrin immediately sat on the ground, and Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Sheshamtu Karim mitachteim, that Nebuchadnezzar removed the pillows from underneath them. Rashi, in his commentary to Eicha, brings this midrash in a slightly different way, and he says that when Tzidkiyahu was rebelling and he violating his oath, that Nebuchadnezzar went and sat by the port of the city of Antioch, and he summoned the Sanhedrin, and when the Sanhedrin came, he saw them, and he saw that they were very distinguished people, so he sat them in these golden chairs, and he said to them, arrange for me your Torah, passage by passage, and translate it for me. And then when he came to the passage of Nedarim, he said to them, if he wants to annul his oath, is he able to? And they said, yeah, you should go to a Chacham and release him. And he said, if that's the case, you're the ones who released Tzidkiyahu from his oath. And so then he removed them from their power, and he took them off their golden chairs, and he tied them to the horses' tails, and then they were tortured and killed. So now we're on the Mishnah on the bottom. Samachayim and Aleph from Meir Omer. Meir says, Yesh Dvarim Shein Kinoad Ve'eina Kinoad. There are certain things that it's like they are Noad, but they're not Noad. What are those things that are like Noad, but they're not Noad? First of all, what is Noad? We had said that Noad is a dispute between Rabbi Eliezer and the Rabbanan on the previous staff. If there's a new situation that arises, whether or not you can use it to annul a vow. That is, Rabbi Eliezer says you can, and the Chacham say you can't. But like for example, if a house becomes a yeshiva, and you would say you're not going to go into that house. But now on our Mishnah, Rabbi Eliezer says there are certain things that are like Noah, but they're not even Noah, so even the Rabbanan would allow it. But the Chachamim don't admit to this. Ketzad. What are those things? So Amar Konam Shah, and he knows that his point is, he says, I'm not going to marry this girl, Shavia Ra, because her father is very bad. And Amar Lo, and they said to him, Meis also Tshuva, and they said to him, well, now he's dead or he's repented, so he's no longer bad. So the Ran is going to explain what this means is that you don't even need to go to a chacham to annul it. You can annul that on its own. Because we'll see the Gemara has two reasons for possibly why this can be annulled even on its own, even without going to a chacham. The other case is it says, I'm not going to go into this house because there's a bad dog or snake, or there's a snake in it. The dog is bad, meaning not all dogs are bad. This specific dog is bad, but all snakes are bad. There's just a snake in there. They say the dog died or the snake was killed. Then it's like this circumstance where it's like Noah, but it's not Noah. The Chacham don't admit. Some Rishonim have the Girus of the text that say the Chachamim do admit. So that's a dispute amongst the Rishonim. But let's see how the Gemara analyzes this. Konem Shani Shani Nechnas Mabayis Shakov Zameis Noad. We're going to say that that's considered Noad, and the Ran explains Mishum Achi Shari. It's permitted even without the Sheos Chacham. Because why? The first explanation is from Rav Huna. He says, Nasa Keto and Nidra B'Davar. It's like you made your vow conditional. And so since the condition of the vow was not applicable, therefore it's like your Toa Nidra, and so therefore it's permitted even without a Sheos Chacham. So that's the first explanation, whereas Rabbi Yochanan gives a second explanation. He says, Kvar Meis V'Kvar Asa Tshuva. He says, no, what we're talking about a case is let's say talking about the case of the father, he says, I'm not going to marry this girl because her father is wicked, or her father is wicked, and then we find out by the time he made the vow, the father was already dead, or the father had already repented. So therefore, it was a mistaken vow. And the Ran asked the question, we need to understand this because according to Rabbi Yochanan, why is this like Noah? It's just the opposite of Noah. The situation was completely different before he died. It was a mistaken vow. So anyway, the Ran says, Tzarech Iyun on Rabbi Yochanan's pshat. But the Gemara itself is going to challenge Rabbi Yochanan. Masiv Rabbi Abba. So on the top of Samachayim Abayz, Rabbi Abba challenges Rabbi Yochanan. He says, Konam Sheini Nosa Aponis Ka'ura. He says, I'm not going to marry such and such a girl because she's ugly. Varei Nad, then it turns out she's beautiful. Shechora, she's dark skinned. Varei Ravana, it turns out she's very pale. Kitsara Varei Ruka, she's short, but it turns out she's tall. Mutter Ba, then he's allowed to marry her. Woman Shechura Vanasis. No, not because she was ugly and she became pretty, or Shechora Vanasis, dark skinned and she became light, or Kitsara Vanasis Ruka, short and she became long. Elasha Neder Taos. So that the next Mishnah, which we're going to get to, God willing, on tomorrow's daf, talks about these cases and says those vows are not applicable because they are mistaken vows. So if the next Mishnah is talking about a mistaken vow, then we're going to say that this Mishnah clearly must not be talking about a mistaken vow, but it's more logical to say like Rav Huna that it's talking about a conditional vow. More explains Bishlam, Rav Huna Dama Nasek Katoman Nidra B'Davar. It makes sense. According to Rav Huna's pshat, it says that the problem with our vow is that it's a conditional vow and therefore it can be annulled even without going to a chacham because the condition wasn't applicable. That makes sense. Tana Torah Nidra B'Davar Tana Nether Tos. The first vow, the first mission is talking about somebody who makes a conditional vow, and the second vow is talking about somebody who makes a vow and a mistake. El Rabbi Yochanan Damar Kvar Meis, but according to Rabbi Yochanan, who says that even the first mission is talking about a case where the vow was made as a mistake. According to Rabbi Yochanan, it says it's Kvar Meis, Kvar Asa Tshuva, and he already repented. Rama missed they trade Zimne, Nether Tos. Why does it have to say the Nether Tos, the mistaken vow twice? What's the point of it? Gemara says, indeed, Kasha, indeed, this is difficulty with Rabbi Yochanan's pshat. So there's two problems with Rabbi Yochanan's pshat. One is, why do they call this a Noah? Hare Hinkanoah. Why did they say it's like Noah when it's not Noah? it's a neder tongue. It's a mistaken neder. That's the difficulty that the Ram raised. But the Gemara raised a different reason. The next Mishnah is going to talk about a vow that was made a mistake. So therefore, it's not logical to say that this Mishnah is also talking about it. So now we're on to the next Mishnah in the middle of Samachayim Abayz, the Old Amaravi Meir, Post and Lomina Kosov Shabbatorah. Meir says that if you want to use a Pesach, if you want to find something where he makes a mistaken vow, you make a post and lo minat Kosov Shabbatorah, that you open for him, you use verses in the Torah as a way of saying, if you had known this when you made the vow, or you have still made the vow. When we say to him, that if you would have only known, if you would have known that you made this vow because you were angry against this person, and so now you're taking revenge against him. If you had known that that's a violation of the Torah, would you have still made the vow? You know how to have revenge. If you had known, if you had known that you're in violation of you're not allowed to hate your brother in your heart, and now we take this vow, you hate him in your heart. Or if you would know that you're in violation of the Torah, Torah says you're supposed to love your neighbor like you love yourself, would you have still made this vow? This is the only time in the Mishnah that this pasuk is cited. Love your neighbor like you love yourself. Or if you know that you're in violation of that you need to have your brother needs to live with you. You need to support your brother. And now he's poor, so you're not able to support him. Would you have still made the vow? If he says, if I had known this, I never would have made the vow in the first place, then we're going to say that this is a valid petach to annul the vow. So why can you use the pasuk that you're obligated to support your brother? Why can't he just say, call to me ani? He says, why am I in violation? I'm not required to support every single poor person. That everything that they tell me I have to give my portion to the community. I'll give my portion to the community coffers, and that's what I'll do. Meaning to say, why do I have to be the one to support him? Why is this my violation? It will go to the community, and I give my money to the community, so I'm not in violation. So they respond. So the Rabbanan responded to Rav Huna, "Ani omer kol hanofel." So the Rabbah says to Rav Huna, because we changed the gear, so we had started off with the gears of the Rabbanan, but they changed it to Rabbah because here he responds, "Ani omer." It's not the Rabbanan, it's Rabbah says. I say kol hanofel eino nofel idei gavah tchila. The person who needs help, he needs it on the front lines. He doesn't. There's individual responsibility to support him before it goes to the communal responsibility. Before he goes to the community and asks for support, he's going to come knocking on your door and ask you for support. And so therefore you have to provide the support for him. And so if you know that you're in violation of the Torah when you made the vow, when you still made it, is a vow of Pesach. Says the Mishnah on the bottom of Samachayim base, you can use as a Pesach to annul a vow the amount of money you have to pay when divorcing your wife, which is from the ksuva. Means, say, if you had known that this is going to be very expensive divorce, would you have still vowed to divorce your wife? There was once a person who made a vow that he's not going to have any benefit from his wife, so now he has to divorce her. And but now he realized he has to pay 400 dinar. Rabbi Akiva, the guy came before Rabbi Akiva, and he's crying. Says it's too much for me. Rabbi Akiva says you have to pay the 400 dinar. Amar Rabbi. He says, Rabbi, I can't do it. My father left me only 800 dinar and as an estate. My brother took 400 and I took 400. All I have is 400. Why can't I just split with her? She'll get 200 and I'll take 200. Rabbi Akiva says to him, even if you're going to take the hair off of your head, so you have to give her your whole ksuva. You have to give her the whole ksuva. You even have to give her the hair off your head. So this man responds to Rabbi Akiva, the guy says back to Rabbi Akiva, if I had known that I'm going to give her so much money, if I would have known I'm going to have to give her 400 dinarim, I never would have made a vow to divorce her in the first place. Rabbi Akiva says, oh, that's a valid reason to annul a vow. Rabbi Akiva says, indeed, that's legitimate. That's a legitimate reason to annul vow because you hadn't known these circumstances when you made the vow. So the Gemara asked the question: why is Rabbi Akiva collecting from these dinar? And these dinar are called metaltal. Nowadays, we can collect for ksuba from movable objects, but in time of the Gemara, we learned to Masechas Ksuba. So you don't collect the ksuba from metaltal, from movables. You only collect it from real estate. So metaltal and the guy inherited 400 dinarim. That's cash. The cash is not. There's no lien on the cash to pay the ksuba. There's only lien on real estate. So why is he paying it? Amar Abaye, karka shava ches meos dinar. So he says, no, really, it's not talking about cash. It's talking about land that was worth 800 dinar. Mara says, but no, but Kiva says you even have to pay the hair off your head. Vakatani saro show. He says you even have to pay the hair off your head, but saro show metal to you. But the hair off your head is considered real. Is considered movables. So hachikamar afilatam mochar saro shtava ocha. So what he's saying is that even if you have to sell your own hair in order for yourself to eat, you're going to have to pay her from the money she's owed from the land that you have in your possession. Shmas minei, we learn from this a very important point. Ein misadron lebalchov, that you're not misader for a debtor or for somebody who owes money. So this is a dispute in Bamitzia. There's somebody who says that when you owe money, you don't take everything, but you leave him with a bed and a mattress and the utensils he needs to work, and you leave him with money, with food for 12 months, because that's what the way you leave somebody. That's called misajrin l'balchov. That you don't take everything, you leave him with a little bit to live on. And some say a misajrin. And from the fact that we say here that you can even sell the hair off his head, you see from here a misajrin. When the person owes the money, you take everything, even if you're leaving him with nothing. Shmas mina im misajrin balchov. Amar Nachman bar Yitzchak Omar. Nachman bar Yitzchak disagrees. He says, no, it's possible that our Mishnah says you are misajrin balchov, but really we're saying ein mikarin shtar ksuva. No, you're misajrin. You leave him with a little bit, but you don't rip up the ksuva. Meaning to say he's in debt to the ksuva. So when he makes enough money, you take it from him. But in the meantime, even though you are misajrin balchov, nevertheless. You don't tear up the ksuba, and he has to pay on an ongoing basis until the debt is done. So